Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. Welcome into this very special edition of Small Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast. We're going to be running a 4-episode series on cooperatives, and the series is brought to you by the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals. Melina Morrison from the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals. Over to you.
Thanks, Michael. And we are just thrilled to be sponsoring this 4-episode series because co-ops, as you know, are really important. They're especially important to small business owners that need to come together to collaborate, to get more of the supply chain or to export or scale and all of the other things that we need to do with other people. So in the 4 episodes, we'll be hearing interviews that you've done, Michael, with people behind 4 new cooperatives. And you're digging down on why and how they came about in the first place, why they chose the co-op model, and the difference the co-op structure is making in their business and to their community, of course, because it's all about people before profits. So if you are a current or prospective cooperative and you'd like to learn more about how they run, I really encourage you to listen in and get inspired and learn from others who are actually doing it right now. You can listen to this episode or any of the others by searching up Small Business Banter on your favourite podcast app.
Okay, so welcome into another edition of Small Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast. Today is the first episode in the series that is sponsored by the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals. We're going to be doing a series of 4 interviews to create awareness of cooperatives and mutuals as a way of doing business, and also to, educate current and potential cooperatives and mutuals based on the insights of the wonderful people we're going to be interviewing over the next 4 weeks or so. So Kate Biondo from Galactic Co-operative, welcome into Small Business Banter.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Looking forward, as always, to chatting to someone who's doing it, right? And, you're the CEO of Galactic IT, which is an employee-owned cooperative. You're a founder of the business as well, or of the cooperative. Do you want to just give us a little bit about, you and the Galactic Cooperative?
So Galactic Co-operative was really sort of built as an umbrella business model to run some other businesses underneath. So our main business is actually Galactic Scientific. They do service and repair of scientific equipment in laboratories. So we're in laboratories all over WA, helping with whatever laboratory scientific equipment that there is. We also have Galactic Sustainability. We used to have an arm called Galactic ICT, but we no longer run that. We got out of that a little while ago. I suppose being a worker-owned cooperative has given us the ability to go with what works for us. So if it doesn't work, then we can sort of leave it behind and then we can bring on new things as well. So that's been one of the beauties of it.
That being the particular model, which is employee-owned cooperative. So you wanted to, you definitely wanted to engage your staff perhaps more than they might with another model.
For sure, yeah. So there were originally there were 5 governing fellows. So we were the founding group that put Galactic Cooperative together. And look, I suppose we just reached our 6th year. We're just about to have our 6th AGM. I think there is a phrase out there that, you're an overnight success when you've been in business for at least 10 years. So we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. 10 years, 10,000 hours, or, it's a lot of commitment and effort to get to the point where you can, comfortably say we've were overnight successes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we keep growing. We keep, we seem to have little setbacks, but we seem to get over the setbacks and then we just keep going. And like you said, we're a worker-owned cooperative. So we're actually the only worker-owned one here in WA. There are many other worker-owned cooperatives over east. And I do connect with them whenever I can. There's a little group of us that try to mentor each other and get through the different ways that we
collaborate.
The different ways that we do business. Yeah.
No, it's got to be. You're not competing. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be competing in business per se, but you certainly, there's advantages and to be had by sharing. How you go about running your particular, your business, your business model, which is a employee owned.
Yeah. So yes, it is. Yeah. It does come under that employee ownership. So we do encourage, although there's not 5 of us that govern it at the moment. We're down one governing fellow. So there's four of us at the moment, and we have goodness how many employees. And again, although they aren't members yet. We hope that in time, as they work with us, that they would like to become part of the business and take on that little bit more responsibility. But I think with that responsibility also comes a lot of benefits. So that's what the options are there, is that you have more say, you have more, it's that, one share, one vote, which is very much the democratic side of our governance. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it also puts perhaps a lot, puts weight on the decision as to who you bring in, because they're not only an employee, they're going to be part of, which is it's a good thing, but maybe choose well.
It is. It's I think that's something that all of the worker-owned cooperatives in Australia that I have connected with, that is always like one of our main issues is recruitment, because the main part of our business is our people. That's what we do. We provide a service. So finding those right people, and it takes time. So of course you make mistakes, you learn from them. People maybe come on board and for their reasons can't stay, so they leave. So there's always this constant flux, as well as trying to find people who are going to fit really well.
No, it's employee ownership is emerging, and I deal with it day to day in its different forms. But it's got incredible upside, but it just carries a lot extra in terms of those decisions as to who not dissimilar to selling off part of a business. But look, I think we might come back to that. I just to kind of put everyone in the frame. So you started the cooperative. You had a few divisions. So Galactic Scientific is the main one now, which is repairs electronic equipment.
Well, it's scientific equipment, so it can range. The actual repairs can range from anything it could be electrical, it could be mechanical, it could be. It sort of fits. So, what we've ended up with is physicists. We employ physicists. They have
rocket scientists.
Yeah, they have a very good background in figuring out why things work the way they work, and if it's not working, then how are we going to fix it?
Okay, that sounds like a pretty high-end team you've got there. So how did, in the first instance, how did, I know there are other divisions and the idea of, starting a business that's a bit like a holding company and you try different things, that's wonderful. But was there a particular reason that you went into, scientific?
Well, I think so. My partner, Andre, he had worked in a lot of different places for a lot of different big companies. And I think then he started working for himself, and he was Galactic Scientific. That was it. That was just a sole trader, Galactic Scientific. And as he was getting more and more work, I think he just found it overwhelming, the thought of how to increase, how could he bring people on, but include them, so that it was not just that they just had to do what they were told, or I don't know. He was just looking for something different, a different way to bring people on that could be engaged in all the sides of the business. So when he came across the cooperative model, he just thought that just really synced with him and what he felt his business could really do with. So, and then it was a matter of finding other people to come on board to make it the cooperative. I was happy to when he talked to me about the whole idea, and we found out more information about it. And look, Co-ops WA was really instrumental in helping us find the information we needed to know how to go forward.
Yeah, so you got that. Yeah, the model sounded attractive at the time to Andre. You came on board, but then he got support through the state-based cooperatives.
And so basically the co-op grew out of being a sole trader.
And in Andre's case, he was in that scientific area because it was something he knew something about. It was kind of like the business evolved out of his passion and interest.
Yeah, his experience of what the other businesses wanted him to do, he was ill at ease with how that service was provided, and he felt he could do better. So I don't know if we're better, but we're certainly different in the way that we operate. So
probably I'm going out in a bit of a limb, but consistent with the way you want to run the business. And you could, I imagine at the time you might have been able to just straight employ people. Maybe you could find an investor. Maybe you could look around at a big organisation that could kind of you could partner with in some way. So there are different ways if you want to deliver a great service and effectively grow the business.
Yeah, we did come across some barriers, I suppose, being a small business, as any small business does, when they're trying to get get people to invest. We found it was just really, really difficult, actually. So everything we've done, we've invested in ourselves. The business itself has put money aside to help research and develop other parts of the business. So I think now that we've reached our sixth year of being in business, we're probably in a better position now to approach banks and other investors to help with us. But I suppose we've also our need to do that has probably dropped a little as well.
Yeah.
It was definitely frustrating. It's so frustrating when you're starting out and you can't, get the money behind you.
No, and it's the same. I don't know many small businesses that have survived that haven't been through that, and many that didn't survive and fell over or thought it was all too hard at the time. So, power to you all for contributing for continuing to stick at it, and it does sound like I know there's a few things that seem to be important in the purpose of the business. Recycling seemed to be something that was prominent, but it's also a very conscious decision to take the business in a particular direction with a business model based on high engagement of staff. I think that because it's a people business.
Certainly, as far as, part of our ethos is that taking care of the equipment so that it doesn't land up in landfill. So, and it works hand in hand with the businesses, because if they get a new machine, that's a whole lot of money that they've got to spend. Plus, there's a whole lot of training that needs to go with the new machine. And so they see value in us helping them because it cuts their costs too. So, and we don't end up with
it's a good business case.
Yeah. So sometimes when we do get retired machines, we strip them and keep parts that are still serviceable, and other parts get recycled. Or we do the best that we can with the machine as a whole. Try and look at things in that more circular economy.
Yeah, look, it's great, and there are for-profit businesses and social enterprises and other models, looking at all that, recycling, reuse, which is incredible, and it's just been so much waste, and so much encouragement to waste from bigger organisations, pushing.
Yeah, you need to have the biggest, newest machine. Yes.
Yeah.
When you don't have to.
No, maybe not. Yeah. I've got a picture in my mind of what the warehouse looks like with lots of, shells of, yeah. So,
so much stuff, so much.
yeah, it'll get used one day. And on today's edition of Small Business Banter Community Radio and podcast, the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals series, chatting with Kate Biondo from Galactic Co-operative. And Kate, what I wanted to do now, all that we've talked about today is some of the challenges that you've faced as a small business, which is, if we put aside just for a moment that there is, there's a different employee-owned cooperative model behind the business, but you're still running a small business, and you have to do that just like everybody else. So, when you can you just talk about some of the day-to-day operating challenges and how you deal with them, perhaps differently than you might if it was a straight for-profit business?
Goodness, I don't know. I think
you've done a lot of great stuff to get to 6 years. Keep building the team. So
I think involving all of our employees, I think, has been very important. So our management meetings, we're always inviting everybody to come to our management meetings. We want to have input from everybody. They may not necessarily get the vote at the end, but the way we try to do everything is cooperatively.
Yeah. Okay.
I think as far as our governance go, I have learnt lots through BCCM, so doing some training through them. That's been very good. I think the communication and the trust that you build is just really important in making that work.
I completely understand the potential for that engagement, that open book style, to really turbocharge or to consolidate a business and set it on the right path. But we talked about earlier, it's dependent on getting the right staff, which it is in most businesses, but also what you just talked about there, which is it is a different business structure. It does have specific governance requirements. So so BCCM, as an example of they've been important for you in terms of rolling out a set of guidelines on governance and that. I don't imagine it's straightforward. Well,
I think
for the uninitiated,
I think so. As far as our governing, we have our 4 governing fellows, and I suppose we've already done a lot of work together in knowing where we want to be in 10 years' time, where we want to be in 2 years' time, where we want to be in 20 years' time. So we've got an array of timelines that we're trying to work towards. And working towards those, of course, changes, especially when you think that's where you're going and then all of a sudden COVID happens. It's like, let's move to the side. We'll go this way now. So, but I do think, especially around, say, for instance, COVID, that was really, for our industry anyway, we had a bit of an explosion there because being in WA meant that a lot of the engineers that were coming over east to fix machinery over here couldn't. And so the companies over east were engaging with us so that we could be their hands and feet on the ground. So we got more work. So we expanded slightly off sync to what we thought we would, and we've had to manage that. And of course, managing that meant that we need more people, and recruitment at the moment is quite, for everybody, I think there's it's difficult. It's difficult trying to find those right people.
It's probably always difficult.
I think for the skill level that we're after, we would love to be a bit more gender diverse. So we are more heavily male than female, and so yes, we would love to see some expansion there.
You're there as CEO, and you also personally bring, as I said offline, I was looking at your personal background before Galactic, and you've owned and run small businesses.
Yes.
And I, and you're CEO, and I said that's a pretty good vote of confidence.
Unfortunately, I don't get in. I'm not in the pay grade that a lot of CEOs in Australia are.
No, there's only about there's probably about however many ASX top. No, it's 100. Yeah, well, they're all fine. Yeah. Probably down to 200 or 300, but yeah. But nevertheless, you're forging. You're forging a really good business here, and yeah, you'd like to see some more diversity. But
yes, we are on a bit of a. We're trying to find more female physicists or engineers to come and work with us. Yeah. That would be fantastic. Yeah. And of course, myself, okay, I'm CEO, but I've got to turn my hand to a lot of different things. So sometimes I'm procurement, sometimes I'm doing pays, sometimes I'm, business coordinator, sometimes I'm just doing the co-op secretary sort of thing. So it varies.
Yeah, but and somebody has to do that to around your governance obligations, around your communication with business planning. There's a whole lot of things that you in the chair as CEO, probably you could sit down at the start of a year and write down 10 things you think you should be doing, and you probably need to add another 10 or 20 by the end of the year that pop up.
But I also
as
love that phrase of working in the business or working on the business.
Yeah.
That can change from hour to hours.
Yeah. Well, but this is what I think is fascinating for me, that you're running an employee-owned cooperative and you have some clear differentiators in the way you run your business. You're really tuned into the recycling and high-end servicing of of equipment. But at the end of the day, you're running a small business, and none of that's easy. You've been around, you've gotten through 6 years, so you just have to deal with. And so for any cooperative, or for most that I've looked at or studied or had some exposure to, at the core of what they do is an operating business that. And you've got to have people that understand the governance around cooperatives or mutuals, because it's different to running a family business where you sit at the dinner table and you do the books and you divvy up whatever's made or not made, and you've got other responsibilities. And that's why I think it's, as a existing or prospective cooperatives and mutuals, to be able to focus on at its core, they're running an important business, and they've got to run it sustainably, financially, and otherwise it can be a disaster.
One of our governing fellows is Dr. Kate Ringvall. So she is just putting together her budding business offering, which is Galactic Sustainability. She's sort of putting together a means of helping small business become more sustainable. So that doesn't just mean doing the recycling right. That is looking at wages. It's looking at how the business runs itself. How can what you produce be more circular, making sure that it's sustainable in a long-term way, not just what you're doing with the waste. It's more than that. Yeah. So
does she venture into the Sustainable Development Goals?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what she's trying to tick off for small business. So larger businesses already have to be accountable for those sustainability goals, but small business sort of go underneath the radar, which I think is a bit sad. I think it's easier for them to be set up to hit those goals as a small business and keep to that, rather than trying to turn a big ship. They're only little, and they can just, making sure from the beginning we've got these policies and procedures in place where it becomes a lot easier. So,
Yeah, no, and look, I've had a couple of people on Small Business Banter over the last 18 months that were talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, in the small business field, because that's what largely what we talk about. One of them, in fact, both also did a lot of work in with education, and so kind of building ground up within kids and children that this is part of the way you can live and make a difference, and so kind of over time that's going to present itself or manifest in future business owners or future employees demanding more. So one of them was Annie Woolard, who's a Teach SDGs ambassador.
Right.
So doing a lot of work. Can I call that a new and emerging business unit of Galactic Co-operative?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So from the point of view of the governors, the terminology is it?
We call ourselves governing fellows, but I mean
governing fellows.
We're directors. That's the more commonly used word, but yeah.
Yeah. But so then they've in the beginning there was the cooperative was set up, had a scope to do certain things. One of them presumably is that if you see an opportunity that's like sustainability, that you've got the license, in inverted commas, to go after, and so is that about diversifying?
Yeah.
Is it about capturing an opportunity that just seems too good to miss because you've got the right people?
No, well, I think we have the right people, and certainly we're already doing the do. So like that's the way we run our business anyway. So I think it became quite easy to. And Kate Ringvol, she's done a PhD in sustainability. She's been working in the area for a long time. And I think she could just see that we're already performing as a small business within that scope. And so how can we help educate other small businesses and get it running for them easily? It doesn't have to be a big monumental sort of thing. So, I mean, we had a little foray into electric bikes for a little while, and I think, look, you learn from these things, you get involved, and I think the product that we had was really good. I just don't think the market was quite ready at the time, and then of course electric bikes have just boomed now.
Gone, but they certainly have. Yeah.
Which is great, and that's fantastic. Glad they have. And in hindsight, I would say, well, it's probably good that we didn't do that. It was a great learning time. Glad we did produce our Svelto bike there for a little while, but we also had to call it quits at some stage. We couldn't keep pouring money into something that just wasn't getting off the ground. So we pulled.
Well, that's your governance in play right there, though, right? Because you've had a look at, you've explored, you've gone down the path, and you've for good reason. Maybe you saw an opportunity, and you can't leave it sitting there forever.
Yeah.
It feels like you've got to try.
Yeah.
But pulling the plug at the right time, and then looking for the next one.
Well, I think another part of our business is the involvement that we have with niche broadcast. So we've been involved with, I've helped build antennas, like huge things. And I never thought I would be involved in building antennas, but
that's number 37 on the list of the CEO duties. Get out the back and build.
That's right. So but it's all niche radio stuff, and so it's just when someone comes, someone has a particular issue, and certainly within WA, it's so easy to sort of go, oh, look, such and such helped with that particular thing. How about you contact them? So it's just word of mouth. And,
okay.
And then we get the little job. Yeah. So it's been very interesting.
In it as a business unit, is that in maybe developmental phase or?
No, I think it's very ad hoc. I think we all really enjoy it, but it's just a little side thing that we do, especially my partner Andre. I think he loves, I mean, when he was 10, 11, he had a ham radio, and he's always had an interest in radio.
Yeah.
And so when these jobs come up, he's just loves working out. He's just a troubleshooter. He likes to work out how we're going to do that, how we're going to repair it. He loves those odd things coming his way.
Yeah. And then, so, but, as, he's one of the founders as well. So,
Yes.
and he's got, presumably there's some kind of role description or expectation about, how he would use his 40 hours a week. So the governance thing again would kick in that, we can, we want to diversify, we want to, chase good opportunities, but also need to understand when they're not working.
And that helps, of course, bring in. So the laboratory work that we do a lot of is geochem here in WA. There's a lot of geochem labs, but there's also pathology labs as well. There's the universities. There's a lot of different places where laboratories are. There's the agricultural department. So what we have found is, along with that diversification, is that when some labs are booming, others are sort of on the back, and then it turns around. So it's almost like there's never a lack of work. It's just slightly changes.
Yeah. Well,
and then of course we get these odd things in where somebody wants us to build a reactor for something, or the broadcast stuff. It's just out of the blue. We just get these little jobs that sometimes they need a bit of research and development, and we're happy to do that. We do the research, do the development, help the business move that project along. We might only be one little cog in that, but it's always, exciting.
Well, it is, and look, it's continually moving, and you need to adapt, and that's again to draw the parallel between cooperatives and mutuals and the business that they're operating. You've got to be there's very few
adaptable.
I think you can just let sit.
Yeah,
you've got to actively manage, and so this is one of in this series of podcasts, we're really hoping that we're talking like we are today, and if somebody is about to start a cooperative, or if there's a fledgling one of the things that's really important is to be able to get the right people around so that you can drive the business and you can respond to the day-to-day challenges that any small business throws up. So and take advantage of the opportunities that come as well. So So I'm just going to maybe, if I can, just ask a few questions, quite sort of specific questions. Has your business model as an employee-owned cooperative helped with securing new work or new projects in any particular way, or is it not a factor?
I think if a new opportunity arises, then it's something that we talk about with everybody on a level footing, and say, do we think we can take this on? I don't know. I'm not really sure how other small businesses would do that, but certainly as a worker-owned cooperative, we would be like, so do we have capacity? Somebody interested to take this on? So maybe we're...
Yeah, no, I guess I'm... Sorry, you go, yeah.
So maybe it's more open for the decision-making around what we do and what we don't take on.
Yeah. Like I didn't really. I was just thinking, there's a businesses that are leading with purpose, right?
Yeah.
They're upfront about, and I'm not making any judgments, but I'm just interested to know whether it kind of at the beginning in terms of identifying new work, or at least when you get in the lineup and you're pitching or you're negotiating, whether that it helps, and it doesn't make any. But what about with?
I don't think many of the businesses that we interact with have a real understanding of what a cooperative is, let alone a worker-owned cooperative. So sometimes we do get into conversations about what that means. And as far as them choosing us over somebody else, I think we've got a good footing in some of the larger businesses that we do work for, because they've got to know us. Like, it's been they like us. I don't know. It's just it's like, these guys are cool. We'll just keep on using them.
Well, yeah, that's good. Well, that's like, maybe we call that, that's something that differentiates what you do. I was going to ask if it's just, if it attracts better or different or more employees because they want to, they're employees that want to be part of something and not just put in the
I just don't think I would like more people to know more about cooperatives. Just to know more about cooperatives, let alone worker-owned ones. I'd like, because I can potentially see worker-owned cooperatives all over the place, but it does mean a bit of a gamble, I suppose. You've got to, and the gamble is that the people who start the business want to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so
because you could just keep it all.
That's right,
and that's a legitimate and effective model for hundreds of thousands of small businesses. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think this is, part of why this series is there's some incredibly big cooperatives and mutuals, and
yes,
don't have to name them, and they've been, and the model's been around for hundreds of years.
Yes.
So but it's having a resurgence, and I think BCCM are doing an incredible job. Today they shared an article on in one of the newspapers, The Australian, or on LinkedIn, about the Sea Lake Hotel, Sea Lake in Victoria, and it's a cooperative that was set up, and it responded to a need in the community, which was that hotel, whoever the owner was, I can't remember the exact details, but the owner wasn't going to continue. I think it was for sale and they couldn't get a buyer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if we want a pub, we're going to have to buy it and we're going to have to run it, and they did, and it's going from strength to strength.
Yep.
I can vouch for that. I've had a few beers in the front bar, and it's fantastic front bar.
That's fantastic.
And I think that's a vital part of in that case a reasonably small regional community. So that's the need there is very immediate, and they're responding that we had one. Somebody used to run it as a small business or a medium business, whatever. They don't want to do it for that, that maybe they wanted to retire, whatever.
Yep.
But no one's coming in, or it doesn't look like anyone's coming in to take it over. So we're going to have to do it, and that's another. You've with Galactic, you've kind of started with a business and a leader and someone who wanted to do something, and it's evolved. But there will be other cases where people listening in are going, well, it could be a hardware store, it could be
yes.
A agricultural enterprise, and there's there are thousands and tens of thousands of around.
I do find, I think it's interesting how a lot of the bigger businesses, as far as their governance go and their culture, it's almost like they know that there is a lot of value in having a good culture in the business. I suppose I feel that cooperatives just almost automatically come with the good culture. So we're not having to reproduce something, or it just is innate.
What do you think are the bones of that?
I think it's partly the cooperation that goes behind it, so our model rules are to start up a cooperative is not you don't just buy it off a shelf. It's a bit more involved than that. You've got to work out what your model rules are, which is like your constitution. Yeah. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it from the beginning, and it takes I suppose you're not doing it by yourself either. You generally need, it's a group. Like for us, it had to be 5 people. So we had to find 5 people. And actually it was quite difficult at the beginning when we knew, yes, that we were going to go for this. We were going to be a worker-owned cooperative, and we had 4 people, and we couldn't start the cooperative until we had 5. So, so it took us like a year to sort of get this business up and running, because we just didn't have all the elements that we really needed to be able to start it. So, and that's a big thing. That's and maybe that's not fair. I'm not sure. To some degree, I feel like that extra that work that we've had to put into creating it has made it even more sustainable.
I was just about to add, and this is a comment only, but it's not a bad thing either that it takes some effort and time to – it really – I think it kind of – it'll – the owners, the original owner or the intending owners will really know that they want to do it if they have to work that extra harder. And so I think as an industry, if you want to call it that, there should be some hard work to get started.
Yeah, I certainly don't regret the hard work that we went through, because it was such a learning curve, and very thankful to Peter Wells at Co-ops WA just for, his knowledge was amazing, but also the people he connected us with, so that we were able to find out more information about being a worker-owned cooperative, because although he was very supportive of it, he had a lot of information around it. He didn't have a lot of first-hand experience with it. So it was like, you talk to these people over East. You got to meet up. You got to,
That's how it should work. And what we'll do in the show notes, we'll put a link to those that Peter and the organisation, because that's there's no the knowledge is out there. Somebody's most likely been through it before, and if you reach out to them, I'd suggest that a lot of the calls will be
and
returned.
Again, BCCM was helpful too. I got Anthony, linked up with him, and I just got along so well. Just had similar visions of the future, and he was very helpful. There was a conference for BCCM here in Perth, 2019, I think it was, end of 2019. And so it was really lovely actually meeting Anthony after only, emailing and talking on the phone. It was like we finally met, which is quite nice. So.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it? It's, a shared interest and a shared objective to make this model, cooperatives generally, but employee owned or whatever derivations of it, much more in the public domain, because it's going to be an effective model for a lot of communities and a lot of businesses.
Well, we would love to have a worker-owned cooperative conference at some stage, but it'll probably be over East, and we'll just wait and see with COVID as well. So, but again, just meeting up even online with other worker-owned cooperatives and just talking about how they're running their governance, how they're doing their recruitment, how they're whatever is helpful. Yeah.
Well, I know Alan Gregg at Employee Ownership Australia, and I are in regular contact. He
is a wealth of
Melina. He's a powerhouse, but he believes in, and there are different models of employee ownership, and he's there, and Andrew Clements, the chair, and others doing a power work, and Melina Morrison at BCCM. So and it just feels like it's the time. So. Talking about time, I just wanted to just draw out our discussion with a couple of other questions. And your best advice to other businesses or communities considering something like this, what would be the top 2 or 3 things you would do to encourage them to go the next step?
Oh, goodness.
So I mean, I
to do the next step.
Reach out. So I guess reach out to the people that you did in the first instance.
I think I've already given some thought to this question on your list of questions that you gave me, and I'm trying to find my answers.
Oh, that's okay. We'll come back to that. Yeah, no, that's fine and dandy. Because it's one of the it's one of those things that we do want someone listening to go. We have a need for private enterprise in this case isn't going to be the answer. Like we draw a parallel with Sea Lake. There was no one coming in to buy the pub as another owner operator.
I think it comes back to that thinking local. Like, you can make it even more local. It can just be the people that are local can be part of and doing the business. I suppose that's why I feel like worker-owned cooperatives could be anywhere and everything. The pub could have been worker-owned if they wanted to go that way. A hospital could be worker-owned. The bakery down the road could be worker-owned. I could see potential everywhere, and I think that investment that you're making in that the people are part of the business is what we're finding is that culture that people are trying to bring about it's got to be relatable to the people. So bring them in, allow them in. And there can be different levels of membership as well. It's not just about the workers. It can be the customers too. It can be it's a whole whole organism can be created.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to think anyway that where consumers or government even in tendering has a choice. That you can't. It's got to be, as you said, it's got to be about the competence to deliver the service or make the product.
Mm-hmm.
But as the world of sustainability and all of the SDGs kind of roll out, they might just give particularly with consumers a bit of a signal that this business is maybe the one they're going to trade with because they're supporting local or they're supporting whatever it might be. So yeah. You also before Galactic, ran businesses of your own. So is that in terms of in your role now helped you as a CEO in a dynamic worker-owned cooperative? Are there parallels there?
Yeah, because I was self-employed. I had so my own business meant that I was doing my own project planning. I was doing my own logistics, doing my own finances, anybody in being a sole trader, you sort of are across everything. I'm very happy that one of our other governing fellows is Adam Binks, and he's an accountant. So he's a long-term friend of Andre's, and he was keen to join up with us. And he's our accountant, so he works in the business, which means that he's part of the worker-owned business, and he helps us with all of the finance stuff. Because even though, yes, as a sole trader you get to know all the finances, doesn't necessarily mean you like doing it. So.
Or that you should. I mean, you should be on. Yeah, you should be on top of the numbers, but maybe
Oh goodness.
Letting go. It's hard, and affording it. Sometimes it's it's the reality is you just have to do it.
It was really lovely handing that part over to somebody else and getting another opinion. And he's been really, really good. Running as a sole trader, to be able to expand, I would have had to have started to do things differently. And I suppose part of me was a bit scared about doing that, and part of me was, do I have the energy to do it as well? So when Andre was going from being a sole trader into becoming a cooperative, I saw that as a better opportunity to become involved with that because of the support that you've got. You've immediately got the other directors, governing fellows alongside you, and then being able to bring on people in time to do specific jobs, whether that they come in casual, part-time or full-time, and hopefully eventually become members as well, means that it's not entirely up to you all the time about all the decisions.
Yeah, it's the evolution. If there's a business that can be built, you can't. There's a point for every business where it'll outgrow the founder or the founders or the team, and so you got to keep adapt. You've got to keep bringing in the other resources, and so your parting words of encouragement. What in the series we're going to cover quite a few industries, and one of the points of this is that you're in sustainability and technical engineering.
Yes.
So the cooperatives, worker owned, employee owned. Other models they can be for a lot of different businesses, which I find really exciting, and I think is part of the future of cooperatives and mutuals, because in communities that one of the biggest challenges we have is the transition of existing businesses from owners to the next generation, and there's a lot of communities that are going to see businesses fold. They'll see new ones start to replace them, but they'll see a lot of businesses fold who don't transition well, and you're going to pay for that in terms of lack of service, lack of amenity, or so new models to own them are
I do
important.
think cooperatives does fit that. Having that longevity is there, but also leaving behind a legacy. I might not always be involved in Galactic Co-operative. I will be always down as one of the founding members, but I would hope that I'm just one of the founding members. This can grow, this can move on and change with the people that come in. Yeah, no,
that's an incredibly important point you've raised there, Kate. That it's that sort of baked in legacy almost. There's a lot more structure around these cooperatives that you got a lot of effort to set it up, as we talked about. So as opposed to just maybe setting up a company and closing it down when when you're done with it. Nothing wrong with that, but you're right. That's really quite profound. Kate, thank you so much for your time today. Do you want to just tell us the name and the website of your business before you go?
We have a new website about to be launched, which will tell everybody all about us. But if you look up Galactic Co-operative, I think at the moment it's a Google page, but
it is a Google page. I can confirm that.
Yeah, but very soon we will be launching a different website, and we're all very excited about that. We're also hoping to have a bit of a shop on there as well for our laboratory customers.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you're happy for people to reach out to you directly?
Yes.
Is that?
I'm happy with that, yeah. Yeah, and
right,
that can be kate.b@galacticcooperative.com is my email.
Okay, and all right, and as I said, I'll definitely put the notes up when the podcast comes up. So, Kate, thank you so much for your time and engagement. I know everyone listening will take a lot from that, so thank you, and good luck with Galactic. What a appropriate name for a big enterprise in the making. All the best.
Thank you.
Well, what a great conversation. And thanks for listening in to this episode, which is part of a 4-part series on co-ops brought to you by Michael Kerr at Small Business Banter and the BCCM, the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals. And if you're interested in setting up or running your existing cooperative, we love to help you, and we have lots of tools, information and advisors. You can find everything you need to know about how to contact us on our website, which is bccm.coop. That's co-op or coop. And you can listen to the rest of this interview or search up any of the others on Small Business Banter on your favourite podcast app.